Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Facebook Live event. It is a short week and I am freaking out. Is anybody else freaking out over this short week? I know that most people in the working world love short weeks. They're like, yes, I get a longer weekend and shorter time to actually be at my job. But as an entrepreneur, I'm like, no, I have so much to get done and I only have a fraction of the time to do it. So I'm feeling that this week. I'm really feeling that. And I just had to share that with you because I look about as stressed as I feel. So there we go. Just gonna kick it off that way. The second thing that I'm gonna mention is that we have a huge promotion going on right now. So I have never done something like this before, never given this deep a discount. But June is a little bit slow for us because everybody's focused on graduation or school letting out and they're not quite as focused on home furniture, but they should be. Do you know why you should be super focused on furniture? Because the biggest sales of the entire year are coming up in July. Everything liquidates to make way for fall inventory. And so you need to get your shopping lists created right now so that when those big sales launch July 1st, you can jump. So we are offering $100 off of our makeover package. If you book this month, book in June, and you will have your entire shopping list ready for those big sales and you'll get $100 off your makeover plan. Just use promo code JUNE. So call us at 917-767-2313 to find out if your project is a fit for the makeover and for this amazing deal, because I want you to capture all those sales. There are actually two big times for sales in the home world. The first one is July. The second one is January, right after the holidays when people are ramping up for spring, summer inventory. But I will tell you, July is bigger than January. There's more inventory because you haven't just had Christmas, so there's more to choose from. There's great stuff on the shelves still, and they want to get rid of it. So now's the time, guys. Decide what you're buying. Start scrimping and saving those pennies so you can really go nuts in July. The next announcement that we have is that we are officially opening a London division. So some of you guys already know that Kelsey, our designer who's been with us for nearly 5 years, recently relocated to London and she's doing lots of amazing work over there. You can work with her virtually, or of course, if you live in London, she can come to your flat. But we're launching a UK website, we're getting a UK presence over there, and we're officially gonna be open for business in the UK in about a week. So let us know if you have friends and family over there, spread the word, we'd love to work with you. And of course, if you wanna work with your favorite designer, Kelsey, then you can definitely reach out to her at kelsey@affordableinteriordesign.com and book extra time online. So let's get to the questions because I had lots of questions come in last week, so many that I wasn't able to answer them all during our Facebook Live event. So I have a list here. I'm very excited to answer them, and without further ado, let's dive in. My first question came from Erin, and she wrote, Betsy, I'm teaching my daughter how to plan the redo of her room, and I wanted to know if you had a good program or app to teach her about measuring and space planning. I certainly do. So can I tell you a dirty little secret? This is just between you, me, and the entire Facebook stratosphere. Our designer, Allison, cued me in to an amazing floor plan tool. I have used other things, SketchUp, other things. They feel complicated. You feel like you have to sort of be a designer to get them. And then the ultimate product looks a little boxy. It doesn't look as fun or designerly as I would hope. But if you go to Ashley Home Furniture's website, yes, Ashley Home Furniture's website, they have a room planner tool. It's under one of the tabs, so just look for it. I think you might have to scroll down to the bottom where people generally keep the contact information, and you'll see it's like a room planner tool or floor planner tool. It is one of the most easy to use, most just intuitive, most interesting looking floor planners I have ever worked with. That is her secret weapon. She uses it every single time, and the floor plans come out so cute. If you want to check them out, you can go to our website. affordableinteriordesign.com, and check out either the virtual plan where you can see an example or the commercial plan where you can see some examples of her work. But the floor plans are so cute. The little sofas, you can pick different styles. You can even insert plants or pets. It's just really fun to work with. There's some other good ones that are easy too. So we also like floorplanner.com. There's also roomsketcher.com or smartdraw.com. So I would look at those three in addition to Ashley Home Furniture's website, and hopefully you'll find a planner that will be really quick and easy for her to learn and play with. My next question came from Zora. Zora wrote me, Betsy, how do you fill a big living room space without cluttering it too much for your toddler? We also have a small dining room table set to one side. So the key when you have kids is to be able to give open space for play. So you want to have smaller accent furniture that can be pushed out of the way. So that way they can have a big area to build a puzzle, play with blocks, or just crawl around. So this is the time when I like those upholstered ottomans versus a really big, bulky coffee table. Of course, I prefer the upholstered ottomans with the tray underneath, so that way it can hold a drink or the remotes and not just be plush all the time and rather not functional or like a footstool. I really like those trays that do have that multifunction with the ottoman capability. So that would be one idea. The other idea is just to limit the furniture that you have. So normally you may want 2 armchairs. In this case with the little toddler, maybe you start with 1. Normally just for lovely, elegant design, you would have lighting on either side of the sofa, but maybe until your kid's a little bit older, you forego table lamps and floor lamps and rely on the overhead lighting if it's sufficient. So the key is just choosing minimal furniture, and for the furniture that you do have to get, especially for any furniture that's in the center, you could easily move it. The other thing I like to keep in mind with toddlers, that is something that I did not know when I first had kids. So when I first had kids, I had an area rug that was wool because, let's face it, most area rugs are wool. And I really loved it. It was really working for my husband and myself. And then we had a baby. And I put this baby in his diaper on the wool rug, and his skin was red, chafed. It would get a little rash whenever he'd play because oftentimes they are playing on the rug with exposed skin. And it was just sad. So I realized that wool, just like a wool sweater, is a little bit scratchy. And we got rid of the wool rug, got a synthetic rug instead. We went for a nylon, but certainly you could go for a polyester, which is another really soft texture. I also like floor tiles, F-L-O-R tiles with kids, because not only are they really comfortable to play on, lay on, sit on, but also if there was a big spill, you could just pop one out and put a new tile in rather than living with a stained rug. So floor tiles are a great option, but steer clear of wool rugs because I did find that to be a big irritant and it really prevented comfortable play for my toddler. So there we go, Zora. I hope that helped. We have another letter, or by letter I mean question, that came in this week from Dan. Dan asked me, what finish should doors and trim be painted? The key for doors and trim when you're selecting a finish is that you get something very scrubbable because it's going to get a lot of fingerprints. It's going to get a lot of traffic and action and scuffs. We're constantly reaching for the knob. We're constantly touching the door frame. So you want something that you can really take a sponge to. That's why I almost always go semi-gloss. The other thing that you're wanting to look for when you're choosing the finish of a trim, if semi-gloss was too shiny for you, you could think about doing something that's one step less shiny, like a satin. But I just worry that it may not be as scrubbable for you. Still, the key is that the walls would have a different visual finish than the trim. So the walls would be, in other words, less shiny than the trim. So if you were going to choose a satin, a lower sheen trim, you definitely want to do flat or matte for the wall paint. But say you're choosing an eggshell for the wall paint, then you're definitely going to want to go semi-gloss for the trim. That way there's really a difference. That juxtaposition will not only make the space a little bit more visually interesting, it will also, of course, add durability to the areas that get trafficked most, that crazy trim. So I hope that helped, Dan. One other quick thing that I'll bring up about trim is that typically you want to do it in a lighter shade, like a white or an off-white, than you would do the wall color. But lately, especially in older homes or more historic homes, or homes that don't get a ton of natural light, I will actually recommend painting the trim a darker color than the wall paint. So doing a deep gray or a really rich tan for all the trim and all the doors, and keeping the walls a really light shade, maybe even something close to white. I think that can be a really unique look that also can really draw attention to historic details that are oftentimes found in beautiful trim. But keep in mind that when you do paint the trim a true color, like a rich gray or that deep tan I was referring to, you are drawing a lot of attention to it. So you want to make sure that it's impeccable. You want to make sure that it's interesting. You want to make sure that it has some flavor. Otherwise, you're drawing attention to something that's just pretty boring. And, you know, who wants to do that? So that's my 2 cents there, Dan. I hope that helped. So let's get to our next question that came in this week from Renee. Renee wrote, our living room needs some wow factor. How can we add punch without spending a lot? One thing that I would recommend, Renee, is that when guests come in, chances are they're sitting on your sofa. That's the first place they're sort of heading after they take off their shoes and give you a hug. So anything that you have on or near your sofa is going to get a lot of attention. So you want to make sure it's on point. So have some great throw pillows. There are so many amazing options for affordable price points. I love to look at Pier 1. I love to look at West Elm. I like to look at Pottery Barn. Overstock has some good ones. Really, I like a lot of pillows everywhere. I love Burke Decor if you want something really very special. If you have a more eclectic or whimsical point of view, you could check out Jonathan Adler. But spending a little bit more on an affordable item like a throw pillow can really add the wow, and your guests are going to be sitting right next to the pillow, so you know they're going to notice it. The other thing that you want to think about when you're trying to add that wow, when you're trying to really impress those guests, is when they're sitting on that primary seating, the sofa, the sectional, what are they looking at? Whatever they're looking at really needs to be quite interesting and captivating because, of course, they're talking to you, but they're also looking at the focal point from that piece of seating. So what is that? Say it's the TV wall. Well, that's pretty boring, and the TV is pretty boring unless it's on a fabulous show. So maybe you'd want to paint the back wall behind the TV an accent wall color if you have a very modern space. Or maybe you want to get a TV console that's really quite interesting. So when people are looking in that direction, they're seeing a piece that's really special, maybe even a little bit more expensive than some of the other pieces in the room, like a side table, which really doesn't get looked at all that much. So think about those focal points, what you're sitting next to and what you're looking at when you're seated. And those are the places to add that wow. I hope that helped, Renee, and I hope that your living room is really something that impresses next time you entertain. So I have one last question that came in this week before it's the end of our live event. So Trish wrote me, do I really need to find a stud when I'm hanging something on the wall? So some of you know that there's like a stud finder that you can use. It's an electrical device that you can get at any hardware store that you can push along the wall and it will make a sound when it comes up against a stud. Now a stud is a reinforcement in the wall. Basically it's these 2x4s, whether they're wood, sometimes nowadays they're metal, but they add the stability and structure in between the pieces of sheetrock. And also when you latch onto one of them when you're drilling or hanging something, it adds a lot of stability to that piece. When you're hanging cabinets or anything heavy, certainly you definitely want to find a stud. In fact, the rule of thumb is that any piece that weighs more than 70 pounds, you will want to find a stud in order to hang it. So that means a large mirror, a wagon wheel, these kind of things that really have a lot of physical bulk and weight. You definitely want to find a stud. And the great thing about that is a stud will help support that big piece. The problem is the stud is going to dictate where you can actually hang that piece, which is a big bummer because essentially the stud is determining where you're going to put the furniture. In other words, if you want to center an amazing mirror that's very heavy over your sofa and you know you have to use a stud in order to hang it, well then maybe that would impact where your sofa gets placed so that it can be truly centered. So it's something to think about if you're dealing with heavy pieces of art or wall hangings. But if your piece is under 70 pounds, do not worry about finding a stud. Just use a great screw and anchor set or use a really great picture hanging set. My favorite happens to be XO. It's OXO. I left out one O. It's OXO picture hangers, and they're my favorite. So I hope that helped, Trish. Happy hanging. And guys, it was so great talking to you yet again this week. Like I said, don't miss out on our June promo. Now is the time to take advantage of those huge sales that are coming up in July. So check us out on our Facebook page right here, or you can go to affordableinteriordesign.com to get $100 off our makeover service for this month only. It has been such a pleasure, guys. I hope you have a great week decorating, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.